It's Tehachapi time. Maya Acosta, joined by Corey Costello today. Corey, how's it going?
I'm ecstatic to be here today. I mean, normally I'm excited to be here, but I'm really, really excited to be here today because of our guest.
Okay, who's our guest? Tell us.
Well, our guest is Martha Perez. She is the owner, operator, franchisee of Jersey Mike's Subs, Tehachapi, and she has decided to come into our market, and we're going to get into that. And so, Martha, welcome to Tehachapi, and welcome to Tehachapod.
Thank you. Good morning to both of you to start off with. Thank you, Corey, for the invite. Super excited.
So the big question, right, everyone's been asking me for months now, is when are you opening? You've got this great location on Valley Boulevard, right on the corner of Valley and Tucker, right on the corner, the old, what was a Radio Shack at one point.
Correct.
And so that's the $1 million question right now.
So our grand opening is scheduled for April 2nd. Our regular business hours will be from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. And we are so excited to open our doors and get everything going for all of the city of Tehachapi.
That's awesome. So just a little backstory in how this, Jersey Mike's is a franchise-driven restaurant. There are some that, for example, Panda Express, they are corporate. Everything they open is, in Starbucks is the same way. They're all owned by the corporation, and then they hire local managers and staff, but the corporation runs it, and there's several out there still that are franchise-driven. So and in my role, I'll go to these people, and sometimes they say, yeah, your market's great, the soonest I can find a franchisee. Others, like Jersey Mike's, that story goes back probably 4 or 5 years now. First conversation I had at one of our ICSC shows that we go to, the conversation from the corporate level was, well, Tehachapi's too small, you're not big enough, you don't have enough density, it'll probably never happen. But check back with us. So gave it a couple years. If anything, I'm persistent. And I popped in an ICSC show in San Diego to the same gal I've been talking to. And I said, hey, just checking in. It's been a couple years. And she said, oh, matter of fact, yes, sit down. Let me tell you what has happened. So really, Jersey Mike's did such a aggressive expansion plan in that sort of time frame that Southern California, for example, was saturated. She said, we can't fit any more locations in Southern California. So we're now looking at secondary markets, and yours is on the radar. At the time, they thought they had a franchisee lined up, but that didn't work out. So it got delayed a little bit. And but they had their space. They really wanted that corner that Martha has now taken over as their location. And yeah, they found a franchisee in Martha. So tell us your story, though, about how Tehachapi got on your radar and where your other locations at currently.
Okay, well, currently owner of one shop in La Crescenta. I'm in contract for 3. My next supposedly stop would have been Sunland, but I've been going back and forth trying to negotiate that. So I paused that. And then I was presented with Tehachapi. When they presented Tehachapi to me, I was like, that's a bit of a drive. I was like, I really don't know this city. I was familiar with the other side of town, which was Bakersfield. And that was my original thought. If I was going to grow towards this side, I was like, let's stay to Bakersfield. But when I was presented to Tehachapi, I was like, well, let me drive up to the city. Let me catch their vibe and see how I feel about it. I came, I drove, I visited the 3 sites that Natalie had put in the radar for me. And it was just that corner of Tucker that I was like, if I'm going to move forward with this city, I was like, it has to be that corner. I was like, that corner seems busy enough. To me, it's like the central point of the city where everybody comes in and out. I was like, let's do Radio Shack. I discussed it with my kids, and my kids were all on board. And that's how I said, okay. I was like, let me go ahead and see the city of Tehachapi. It seems like it's the community seems that they're all together. I was like, why not? Let me go ahead and go for it.
Nice. It seems like, you've gone to a couple GTEDC meetings and Chamber of Commerce meetings. At least, I guess, probably the first couple, how well you've been embraced in a small town as opposed to, like, to use Bakersfield, for example. It seemed like the first look on your face, you were kind of shocked about how friendly everybody was.
Yes.
And so welcoming. I guess if you're one of 10 locations in a big city, they're like, okay, another Jersey Mike's. But like here, it's a big deal. Are you kind of shocked by the amount of people that have embraced your presence?
Absolutely. When I walked in and, everybody greeted me, and actually after I left that initial visit or meeting, I was telling my daughter who accompanied me that day, I was like, wow. I was like, I love it. I feel that it's such a small town and everybody's so together and united, and they're here like really wanting for you to succeed as a small business. I had mentioned to Corey, like, I see myself as a small business, even though I'm a franchisee. I'm an owner operator. I'm in my store. Day in, day out. If it's not myself, it's my daughter. I have 2 girls that help me run the business. One of them, which is my oldest one, will be staying back in La Crescenta with me. And then my youngest daughter, which is Mirka, which she'll be the store manager for this one, will be helping me oversees this one as well. The welcoming part of it was so amazing on my end because I was like, wow, when I opened my first store, because of COVID, I didn't have that and I wasn't able to network. But just the welcoming part for Tehachapi, I felt it embraced. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm actually wanted here. So it was a really cool feeling and we really enjoyed it. So we're super excited for it, for that welcoming, that the warmth that I feel as a small business owner.
Yeah, and I have to say, Jersey Mike's is the talk of the town over. That's all that's talked about on Facebook. The local community groups is, when is Jersey Mike's going to open? So I know the community is like super excited to see this come to fruition, and you guys have been putting in a ton of work the past several months.
Yes.
I mean, it was a little quiet at first, and then people are like, oh, there's a roll off in the parking lot, and there's construction crews in there. So you guys knocked that out so fast, and I just know the community is going to be out in full support once April 2nd rolls around and you guys are open.
Yeah, I know. And I want to go back to something you brought up, the concept of a small business. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these large chains, some are corporate owned, but some require franchisees, and you're required to invest in order to get a franchisee or put up collateral. And even like an example here locally with McDonald's, we have a couple locations, and Marianne Pachulo is the owner of those. And Marianne is local. She sits on the Parks and Rec board. And I really look at that, McDonald's, it's a small business. And same with Jersey Mike's or any other franchise. It's a small business, and you do have the corporate support. You pay for some of that corporate support, but you're kind of in it just like anybody else that's running a small business.
Of course, all the money that's invested is, savings, and, corporate doesn't give you anything but the support where, buy through them because they get better pricing. But other than that, everything still comes out of our expense. Everything all our expenses is just directly from us. So I treat my stores as my babies. I take care of them. I make sure that everything is being handled and taken care of. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, because I have a team of young kids still running the store. We try as best as we can. And I always tell my customers, please don't forget that at the end of the day, I have kids, working the store. And we're humans. We make mistakes, and they might forget to put that pickle in, but we try to make it right. At least that's the goal, is to try to make everything right. But at the end of the day, we're humans. They make mistakes, but we're always here to correct that if anything needs to be corrected, or to make it right for you guys. Nobody likes getting a wrong order, right? And that's something that
I mean, at Jersey Mike's, though, even if the order is wrong, like, it's probably fine. Like, sometimes I'm one of those guys that if the order is wrong, I'm like, oh, but that looks good. If I did a to-go order or something, like, this looks fine. And you're like, wow, that was actually really good. Maybe they're trying to set me up to buy this next time. But give us a little bit of your background. Like, what got you into this game, so to speak, of being, getting hooked up and being a franchise owner for Jersey Mike's?
So my background is, I worked for Bank of America and Wells Fargo for 12 years. That's where my background comes from. I started a small business with my brother, an HVAC business, which is actually the company that did my HVAC for Jersey Mike's now.
See, it's paid off connections.
So I started that business a few years ago. Like, now the company has about 20 years ago or something. So we started that business, and because of HVAC, it's so seasonal. Our highest peak is summer, and then during winter it would slow down. I was able to buy like my first condo, and then I was like, I'm going to sell it in just whatever I have. I'm going to invest it. So I had sold like my condo, and I was like, I want to invest in something. And I just started researching several concepts and companies, and I brought them down to 3. So my selection was either Jersey Mike's, Little Caesars, and my other concept was Subway, right? I don't do anything without my family being involved. So I literally set my daughters down in the dinner table, and I was like, these are our 3 options. So I was like, what would you guys would want to be a part of, right? We read through the company's, beliefs and cultures and all that. And Jersey Mike's just was a perfect fit. The brand manifesto, just the culture of giving back to our community. That was a big thing for us. We're like, we need to be a part of something that gives back, that's able to help out. Because my younger days, my parents, I grew up in a low-income family. I was a single mom for a few years, so I was always wanting to, how can I help anybody that's in need? So when the culture of Jersey Mike's, that we saw that this is what they believe in, giving back to the community or helping out, I was like, this has to be it. And my girls were like, we're on board, Mom. It's like, whatever you decide. And we nailed it down to Jersey Mike's. So I started going to their conferences. And it was a whole process of going through the actual process of being selected to be a franchisee. But really, that's what it brought me down to saying, I want Jersey Mike's is just the whole brand manifesto of them believing in a smaller culture of giving back to our community or being a part of a community that gives back. And that's what I want to. And that's I'm so into trying to help out and giving back to that community that's standing with me.
That's awesome. It's funny you brought up the kind of franchise selection process, because that was even part of our sort of confirmation into being a market. I had those couple informal meetings, and then it was ICSC in Las Vegas a couple years ago, and they said, yes, we want to meet. And so at the ICSC show, they have Jersey Mike's has a giant presence. They build a false storefront, and they serve sandwiches all day long. Like, you just walk through and get little half sandwiches. They serve them all day long. But behind that, they have these like offices. Well, they invited us like, oh, we want to meet with you guys in these offices. And Greg was with me, and I'm like, hey, we're going into the inner sanctum here. Like, this is real now. Like, we're getting invited into the back offices of the fake store here at the convention center to have a discussion about this market. So that at the time was like, okay, we've arrived now. Like, we're there. So yeah, we definitely appreciate the community side of it. And I think you'll find in this community, like, people will definitely embrace it. And that's kind of part of this podcast, is kind of tell your story and humanize it a little bit of what made you, come to Tehachapi and choose Jersey Mike's. So it's great that, you took your banking experience too and said, I'm going to invest my money wisely. So
yes, definitely. Yeah. That's what I try to teach my kids too, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same reason why I have my kids in the stores. It's like I have one of them managing one of the stores. Now the other one is going to help me manage both while I'm in between of both. But since day one, I've put my daughters to work. I'm a strong believer of building skills. So I'm like, you're never going to understand all the pressure in our end as a small business if you're not putting in the work yourself.
Yeah.
So nothing's given in life. That's the way I see it. It's like you have to work and earn whatever it's given. And they work the stores. And when I started, none of them were managers. They started as regular crew members. And I was like, if you guys ever want to think of management, you have to earn your spot and earn the work. And you have to know from bottom down and work yourself up. And that's what they've been doing. And this is where we're at now.
And that's so important, the presence of the owner. And I think if there's really been the downfall of any failed franchise in this market has been the fact that it wasn't paid attention to a lot by the franchisee, because they might own 15 others of these, and this is really the last on their radar. And if they don't have the right management team, they don't have the right employees, business goes down. And ultimately, franchises say, we don't want a low performing franchise in our portfolio, especially if we're going to reinvest things like technology and stuff. And so that's why a lot of the businesses really close, is because the lack of attention by the owner in that franchise world.
Yeah, and I think that's in any business, and at least in any business that I've been involved, it was like, I have to be present. I need to know what's going on. I can't just be wondering, it's good or is it not good? I'm a very involved owner. My kids say, like, you're too involved. You need to go home. They're like, let us do something. So I'm super excited to be here and just to be able to meet the community as we progress and start growing, and everything. Hopefully, all of you guys are all on board with me.
Oh, yeah. Now, I'm sure you've seen dozens, if not, I don't know, hundreds of young people coming to work for Jersey Mike's, right? As a franchisee and other locations, I'm sure you've seen tons of different high school age students and beyond that start out at Jersey Mike's. Maybe it's their first job ever. And then whether they stay with Jersey Mike's or move on. What has that been like, as overseeing the restaurant and leading these people, your team, your staff members? What has that been like, that process of kind of maybe getting somebody into the door for the first time ever and kind of coaching them up?
It's actually been an amazing experience. Prior to Jersey Mike's, like I had mentioned, I had a business of HVAC, so I was used to, and in the banking industry, I was used to just working and dealing with adults, right? So I didn't have to, the only kids that I would deal with were my own kids at home. When I came into Jersey Mike's, like, it opened a whole different perspective, let's say, because all my staff, let's say 95% of my staff are kids from the age of 16 till 20. And when you initially start and you start hiring kids and you're working with kids at 16 years old that have never had a job or have never done any type of chores at home, you're basically teaching them the basics of, okay, let me teach you how to hold the broom. Let me show you how you actually mop. How do you use Windex and clean windows? And even though that we see things that these are such basic things that you're like, well, this is what they teach you at home. Surprisingly, not, this is not really common. So there I am, this is how you wipe down a table, and it's basic everyday skills, but it's amazing to see the progress, and it's a challenge as well. But the end result is amazing. The turnaround in the restaurant industry for employment is very fast. You have some people that stay with you 2-3 months and then they leave. My store, thankfully, I've have like 5 employees that have been with me since day one. And they've just gone to school, come back, are still working with me part-time while they're still in school. So it's been amazing. And all the staff at my local store, I consider them all my kids. And I tell them, you guys are all my kids. I'm like your second mom, because I'm telling you guys what to do or whatnot. But they come and tell me, hey, Martha, I'm having this problem. What do you think? So then you become like a guidance counselor too. And I'm like, I was like, Jesus. So it's an amazing experience because I'm able to build that relationship with these kids that, they're 16 now, they're going off to college. And I get emotional, when they tell me, I'm going to be leaving. Yeah, I was having like a breakdown a few weeks ago because he was telling me, I'm going to probably be leaving, going to a university. And it's satisfying and shocking, and obviously it breaks my heart because see these little kids coming in from 16, now they're all grown up. They'll come back and visit me and they say, hey, Martha, I'm done with whatever they're doing with. So it's definitely rewarding.
Yeah, and those skills, like to teach somebody from the ground up of the operation, no matter what your job is, but if you know how to do everything within that, that's going to pay off later, whether they go into this industry and they end up being a franchisee of something themselves, or just in general, like understanding, how to sweep the floor, to how to turn machines on and even fix them. I mean, that's a great skill for the young people to have.
Yes, definitely.
Now, Corey, can we talk a little bit about the economic impact that you may foresee Jersey Mike's having? Obviously, it's filling a vacancy there in that shopping center where the Radio Shack was. But how do you see Jersey Mike's impacting our community here?
Yeah, I think definitely it's an interesting market, and Martha can speak to this too. Your other store in La Crescenta, like much more. A lot of locations, really any business likes to talk about density, and that's always a challenge in Tehachapi because a lot of the times they want, hey, we need 60,000 people within 3 square miles. Well, we don't have that in the entire Tehachapi Valley, so you have to find ways, and that's when we use things like AI and stuff to kind of tell a different story. But for this market and what we found in previous studies and that sort of thing, we do have a lot of folks that make a decent amount of money. And so overall, people spend more in restaurants. They spend more in quick serve restaurants because we do have a commuting population that when they get home from the Mojave Air and Space Corps, they get home from Bakersfield, they don't feel like cooking at 6 o'clock by the time they get home. And so they want, quick serve style food. And this obviously fits that bill. So, that's a big benefit. There is going to be a little bit more of a spend and not as many people, and people will go back more. And so that corner specifically, again, when the reason why people build things where they build them or open where they open them, usually it's based on foot traffic. Years ago when Walmart was built, a lot of folks were like, well, I like Walmart, but why wasn't it put out in Capitol Hills so I don't have to look at it? Well, no one drives out there except you're going to the hospital. So you will want to put it where the traffic is at. And this intersection in particular, where Valley and Tucker, it's 26,000+ cars a day.
Wow.
Going one direction, and it's strategically located as well. Now, if you're coming off 58 and you live in Golden Hills, you may turn on Red Apple. But if you live in the city or you live in Bear Valley Stallion, like your commuting pattern is going to go up to either turn on Valley or go straight through up to Highline. So they're all going to have to go by Jersey Mike's. And the same reason why Jack in the Box is where they are. Years ago, they had considered a second location or maybe even move in that location. And then after they looked at it, they said, no way, we can't beat the visibility and the traffic we get in this intersection. So that will be big as far as, I can't necessarily project sales, but just location is going to matter. And I think that's why we're seeing a resurgence, whether it's in this shopping center in Mountain View Plaza with some vacancies being filled, and then across the street in the town center. I mean, that place is now, a year ago, it was about 60% occupied, maybe. It's now 85% occupied. There's only 3 suites left, and one of them's a big office building. And that's because the traffic in that area, Anytime Fitness, when they open, they're going to bring a lot more traffic to that shopping center, which is good for all the businesses around it. So that's going to be our biggest impact, I think, is the fact that we are taking advantage of the traffic pattern and opening up more services in that area. And then the sales will follow after that.
And is that kind of to what you saw, Martha, with deciding on that location there, that Radio Shack?
Correct.
Old Radio Shack building?
Yes. Like I said, when they had mentioned the 3 prospective locations, we looked at visibility, right? We looked at the numbers. At the end of the day, the numbers have to make sense. I was like, no. I was like, this is the spot. This is a perfect corner. Like he said, people are going to have to come in or out, have to pass through this corner. So it's definitely a no-brainer for me. I was like, no, it has to be this one.
Yeah. And there's really just that's always a big part of site selection. And then, this is going to be a little different than your, La Crescenta store. We don't have as many people, but really the anticipation is that they'll visit more often, and the sales, they're also willing to spend a little more money. I mean, restaurant sales, QSR sales, quick serve restaurant. Sorry, I'm talking too many acronyms here. Just got off the phone with the broker. That's why I say QSR, but that's quick serve restaurant for those of you scoring at home. The sales still are doing well, and even a great example is how Chipotle nationally just keeps raising their prices, and they're like, it is what it is, and people continue to go because they're getting what they like, and they have the means in order to afford that. So I think in Tehachapi, just the story we always like to tell is, look, our ticket size is higher. Folks are willing to pay more, and they're going to visit more often because you're the only one in the area.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're on a bit of an island geographically. We're 40 minutes one way and 40 minutes the other way to a major city. So that certainly helps, and you don't have to leave to get something you'd like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, people are definitely excited about new franchises coming in. Everybody's all the talk of Burger King closing, and it's like, oh, what's going to take its place? But the opening of the Jersey Mike's, I know, is huge excitement. Everybody is tired of the, 4 subways?
Something like that, yeah. And it's certainly, the 2 by the freeway have a purpose for highway traffic and, that sort of thing. And there's always going to be options, and that's always good to have options because it is, there's differences in the way they make their sandwiches, and some people will like one way or the other. But, we were talking earlier, Martha, about technology's impact on the restaurant industry. We've seen this a lot. Everyone has a mobile app now. There is a pickup and, takeout option. Some places like Chipotle, when they built their drive-through, it's a pickup lane. You don't order at a box. You order it ahead and you just roll up to the window. McDonald's is doing a hybrid. All the fast foods are. So, Jersey Mike's has something very similar.
Correct. We do have our Jersey Mike's app, which definitely is a great advantage for all of us. Me as a busy mom, it's a great way of ordering ahead of time and getting your order done, and it's ready for you by the pickup time. So that has definitely, for all the users, it's convenience, and that's what I had mentioned to you when we were talking earlier. The convenience of everybody using these apps, not only Jersey Mike's, but anywhere you go. It simplifies everything. It just saves you time. And yes, sometimes is it more money? Probably, but I'm saving time. And if I don't want to go home and cook, Jesus, there's dinner for me and my kids, right? So that you can't put price on convenience, right?
Well, and then you get loyalty points and things like that, and discounts in the app. I mean,
get free subs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm of that, now. And I think you said, what's your online or app order sales number in your other location? You said it's pretty high.
It is. I'm trying to give you. So, I told you about 75% or 85% is sales driven by online orders.
Wow.
So we hardly see any customers in. If anything, on the weekends, probably we have higher walk-ins than during the week. But definitely Monday through Friday, our sales are driven by online. And this is not only just my store. It's like nationwide where our online order numbers have flipped from our walk-ins to our onlines.
Yeah, and that was a story I'd seen about the Chipotle, when they did that, their success was, and they really tested it a lot in smaller markets first. And we were one of them, and one of the first few markets to get that drive-through concept. And then there was a story about how nationally this is working out so well in small markets, especially in rural communities. And they were surprised because, yes, there's not as many people, but I think to your point about convenience, we are driving further. People are driving and commuting from work and living in a small community and commuting, and then they just don't feel like, cooking at home or whatever. So they're using that that order ahead technology. And I think they're a little surprised by it, but that's really the trend. It's the online piece. COVID made everybody kind of go online, but a lot of folks have then since embraced it and used it as part of their sort of hybrid sales. So I'm pretty sure, especially I told Martha earlier, I said, hey, between like 4:30 and probably 7:30, you'll be your busiest time of people coming home from work and making that online order. So be ready.
Definitely. So that's typically what it's our dinner rush, what we call. But take advantage of it. Take advantage of the app, get your points, cash in some points for free subs. And that's always a good, and here and there, I always throw in a surprise for my own orders just to, whoever catches a bag, get a free cookie or something.
Nice. Very cool.
And Martha, anything else that you want to add? So again, reminding people that April 2nd is the grand, is this the grand opening, soft opening? Remind me.
So April 2nd is our grand opening.
Okay.
If you guys know anybody that is looking for a job, a part-time job, please send them our way. We are looking for friendly faces to help out the store with. We'll be having open interviews this weekend. So feel free to stop by, and we are open-hearted waiting for all of you guys. And, I've been embraced here, so I'm so lucky, to have chosen Tehachapi as a second store, and super excited.
Yeah. We're excited.
And they get to, and she'll train you how to use the meat slicer.
There you go.
Which is fun. Which always gives me so much anxiety when I'm there and someone's, they got the hand right underneath, they're catching it, put it around the sub, and I'm like, don't get too close, don't get too close to the blade. Never happened so far, but
God, I hope not.
Yeah, I know, right? You're like, but no, it's a cool feature of that store, and I think folks are excited, as you mentioned, and I will preach patience right now. I always have a rule of thumb, and unfortunately, I'll be out of town at a cohort that I'm involved with for this International City Managers Association. So I will miss the grand opening, but that's okay because I kind of have a rule of thumb. Like I give it a couple 3 weeks. I've been in Tehachapi a long time to know how grand openings work, and even though we've gotten bigger, that mentality is still there. It's like, hey, it's open today. We're going today, or we're going tomorrow, and then folks are like, oh, I was too busy. I'm never going back again. Well, I always give myself a little bit of time. So certainly be out there and go on grand opening if that's your thing. But I have to give it a little time, let you guys get into your groove, because there's always a rush for the first month or so when folks are excited about a new option in town. So.
Well, we're ready for it, man. We're hoping to hire a couple of good staffs here, and I'm going to be having some help as well from my original store just to travel down and help me out. And again, we're excited, and we have open arms and heart for each and every one of you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. And can people apply online too for the jobs?
Yes. Actually, if you go to jerseymikes.careers, it pulls you to the locations. All you do is fill out, I think it's like an application. It sends me an alert, and I reach back out.
Yeah. Awesome.
Now, when Maya and I shot the video announcing your presence, I was in Bakersfield at a doctor's appointment, so I went to a store down there to get subs to be able to eat on the commercial or the video that we did. And I was mentioning it to one of the gals at the store. She's like, I love it up there. I might apply when that store opens. I said, well, absolutely. Be on the lookout. So you might grab a few people that have experience and want to work in a different location.
Yes,
so
definitely. Shoot them our way.
That's exactly.
Good stuff. Yeah. If people haven't seen that video, go back and look for it. It was a good one.
Yeah.
It was.
I had a sandwich in the bag and everything. I had to try to keep it cool so it looked fresh because I bought two, one to eat on the way home and then one for the video we shot. So
yes, so it was good stuff. All right. Well, wonderful. Martha, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us all about what we can expect from Jersey Mike's.
Thank you for having me here. And just one last comment for the grand opening, we have partnered up with Family Planning Center.
Family Life Pregnancy Center,
which is a way that we want to give back to our community. So for anybody that's coming in, that's presenting that coupon that we're going to be distributing out, there will be a $3 donation going back to the foundation. So
nice.
That's one of the biggest way that we can help out our community is by being a part of it. And that's something that we look forward to also too.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Starting off strong. I love it. Well, Martha, thank you again for coming in. Corey, thanks for joining us and providing your perspectives, the economic development side of things.
Just one more I got to check off the list. Been working for a long time, and it's here. Check. So
finally, we are excited.
We're going down the list. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. Hey, maybe this is your pull for internet too.
They're great, and if you've looked at them nationally, they're expanding out of California now because it's difficult in California. So we are falling victim to that at this point, but still on the list. We'll get there.
But hey, we have Jersey Mike's.
We
So
have
that is
Jersey
more than
Mike's.
enough to be
That's right.
excited
That's
about.
right. We're solid.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. And for anybody listening, if you have a question or comment, you can email us media@tehachapicityhall.com and we'll get that addressed to the right place. Thanks as always for tuning in, and we hope to catch you back here next time on Touch Pod.